in the process of painting or shellacking or varnishing, whatever you want to call it, these boards to make up the seats that go in that boat over there. And I mentioned that, you know, I used to work in a antique furniture shop and I was the lacquer man, and I talked about putting a coat on and sanding it. When you put a coat of shellac or lacquer or whatever you got on something like this, it raises the grain, meaning that, you know, after it dries, it feels prickly. If you run your hand across it, it's not smooth because all the grain expands and kind of sticks up. So you take a piece of, you know, sandpaper like this and you just basically just knock that raised grain down, and you put another coat on top of that, and eventually you wind up with a smooth surface. So that's what I'm doing here. I put a coat on here last night. Battery ran down on the camera while I was doing it, and I ran out of lacquer, so I went and picked me up another can for today. It's raining today. I started, you know, moving toward trying to get the rough rail to go around that boat there yesterday, but it's raining. I need a hot sunny day to do that. I need to heat up that rail so that it will flatten out, stretch out, and all that stuff. I went ahead and bought my planks this morning for that job. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do the bottom sides first of these pieces, and then I'll flip that over and I'll do the top side, and that'll be the second coat that I'll put on this thing. And this is nothing fancy, I'm just using a plain old paintbrush. Smear it on there. A little something I can do on a rainy day like this, other than sit in the house and play with the dogs. What I'm up to. Now it's interesting, this says it's crystal clear gloss and it's white. Now, it may be that it's crystal clear in that it dries. When it dries, it's clear, but it ain't clear here, so that's making me wonder. I suppose the easiest way to try is to put some on here, see if it, yeah, it does kind of disappear into the wood. And do that, so maybe even though it doesn't look clear, maybe it is once you get something that dries. It's kind of interesting. I've never seen any like that. The clear stuff I had before was really clear stuff. This ain't. Be mixed up good enough. Now this has an interesting and unexpected kind of look to it. You see how white it is? If that dried clear and it filled all these little gaps and cracks, that'd be great. It may be like, you know, Elmer's glue. It's white, but when it dries, it's clear. I'm going to try to put enough on here to fill up all these cracks, and I'm just going to wash this and see what it looks like when it gets dry. The other stuff I used was this. Now this is Minwax, and that's Verathane, so that's two different things. One is urethane and one is polyurethane. So, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what we think. I think what I'm going to do is probably not paint anything else with this other than this one board. Well, I can see this board had a lot of old places where the grains had separated. Of course, it's been around for a long time, since about 63, so that's a long time. And it's been exposed to water and sunlight. all the things that can be really harsh on something like a piece of wood. All in all, I'd say it held up pretty well, but the better and the more good stuff I can put on there to preserve it, the better. So, very curious to see how it's going to look after sitting for a while. Well, by the way, yesterday I was talking about using some of this glove it on here. I decided not to just because where that's a two-part epoxy that blends 8 to 1, I would have to figure out how to blend up a dose that was enough to do all these boards, but not too much, because once you mix it up, you can't just put a lid on the can and walk away from it. It's going to harden up. And that just, that amount of calculation just seems like, maybe I'll just put something else that I don't have to mix up on here. That's what motivated me to go get some more of this kind of stuff to put on instead. So, let's see how that does. It'll be an interesting experiment. Like I say, I hadn't put any on this board. I suppose I could do the bottom side of these, because that's what I'm doing now. I suppose I could, because that way, this looks like it's kind of clearing up as it dries. See, on this, it doesn't really show. This doesn't have the big cracks in it like that over there did. So it's different on this piece. So it'd be interesting to see what that's going to look like when it dries. I'll stick this brush in a little bag. I do that a lot of times. It seems to work. You put your brush in a bag, wrap it up, walk away from it, and that kind of helps so it doesn't harden up on you. You can come back later and use it again. Now you can't leave it indefinitely, but you can leave it for the amount of time it'll take for this to dry.